All signed up. Oh, I guess we're going now.
Hello, everyone. Waiting for people to join. We just went live now. Hello, hello. Waiting for more people to join. Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. As you're joining, go ahead and say hi in the comments so we know you're there. Well, I want to know who's there. As I share the live stream 5 more times. Hi.
So I can't see people joining. Should I be able to see them?
They're in the top of the screen. There's a
Oh,
little eye and it has a count next to the live. That's how
oh,
you can see the number of people. And then on the right hand side, you can see the any comments.
hmm.
So I'll go ahead and start. Hello. So thank you everyone for joining. I'm Tiffany Spencer and I have with me Nancy Brown. And the session today is to introduce and go over what we'll be covering in the Becoming a Salesforce Administrator tech cohort that Black Orlando Tech is putting on. Hey, Rose. So just in case some of you may not be familiar with Black Orlando Tech, we are a nonprofit organization working to increase the number of minorities who pursue careers in technology. And our goal is to train and inspire 10,000 people by 2025. Studies have shown that this community is underrepresented within tech. And so our organization is working to close those gaps through a number of tech training programs and tech pipeline building with companies in the Orlando area, as well as building up and supporting tech startups. So that is Black Orlando Tech. If you would like to read more about Black Orlando Tech, volunteer with Black Orlando Tech, or sponsor and donate, please visit www.blackorlandotech.org. And just so you know, we have a ton of really amazing events coming up. So on July 6th, we have another info session like this one that Rose is going to be leading to talk about the data analytics cohort that we have. And so again, these sessions are meant to give you a chance to learn more about the cohorts, learn more about the topics that we're going to be covering in the material, meet the instructor. So those are all things that we're going to discuss in the intro sessions to these cohorts. So if you see a session that says intro, that's what it's for. All of our cohorts are, not all of them, our entry-level cohorts, our intro cohorts are $100. The second level or next level cohorts are $200 because this is our second round of cohorts. And if you complete the entire 8-week course, you actually get a portion of your money refunded to you. So for the intro cohorts, it's $100 and you get $60 back or $50 back. For the second level cohorts, they're $200, but you get $100 back. And all of these, all the proceeds from all of the cohorts actually go to support Black Orlando Tech. So we're not at this time, paying instructors. Our Black Orlando Tech is entirely volunteer ran. And so all of us actually, work full time and do this outside of our work and business because we believe in the mission of Black Orlando Tech. July 10th is our cloud analytics and data security cohort. July 22nd, we will have two amazing recruiters from Kforce who are going to be doing a presentation on telling your tech story on paper and in person. So giving you resume, interview tips, and everything you need to get ready for your new position or a promotion. It's going to be a very valuable session. So please make sure that you sign up for that and that you share all of these amazing events. And, it helps us out for you all to share the word about Black Orlando Tech and our initiatives. And then in August, our cohorts begin. So you have a month and just a few days to sign up for your cohort. So the cohorts are limited to 10 people, only 10. The reason for that is that each one of the cohort leads really wants to make sure that we connect with each individual. We're providing mentorship, we're providing guidance, we're providing career assistance, we're making sure you're understanding the material. So this is not just, some random class, you take it, you learn the material, and you keep moving on. We definitely want to make sure we connect with each individual, so we make the classes really intimate. And so please, if you're interested in a cohort, you have a little over 30 days to go ahead and sign up for those. So any questions or anything so far, please make sure you put those in the chat. I can see them. There are other people that are helping to answer questions in the chat. So at any point, if you hear anything, if you need some clarification, go ahead and put it in the chat over there. So again, this session is to discuss the Salesforce Administrator cohort. As of right now, we're going to be meeting on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. The sessions will be about an hour, maybe a little bit longer. I might change that to Sundays, but right now they're Wednesdays. And so I am Tiffany. I'm going to be the cohort lead. I'm also the president of Black Orlando Tech. I am a 7-time certified Salesforce professional. I am a Salesforce MVP. I am a co-leader for the Orlando Salesforce user group. And I run a number of different initiatives like HBCU Force because I'm very passionate about helping to train new Salesforce professionals. And so I'm very active in the Salesforce community. And my co-lead here is Nancy Brown. Nancy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. She said, I'm Nancy Brown, and I'm actually 2 years in terms of getting to learn Salesforce, which I fell in love with back. Actually, it's a year ago, July, 2 years ago, July. Since then, I've gotten 6 certifications. I started volunteering with nonprofits to get practical hands-on experience. And just really love experience and love Salesforce, and I'm sure you guys will too. So we're looking forward to the upcoming cohort.
So just to give you a little bit of exposure or information about Salesforce. Salesforce is a customer relationship management solution. And so a lot of people, when they hear Salesforce, they think it's just a sales tool, and it's not just a sales tool. So this little wheel that's on the screen actually outlines some of the different features that Salesforce handles with its platform. And so Salesforce actually has solutions for sales organizations, service, marketing, e-commerce. Salesforce has a platform where you can build custom applications for your business or custom applications for your customers to connect with your business. They have integration tools, so they have a number of tools that you can use to connect to other systems. So you have data in another place that you need to get into Salesforce to support your business processes. There's tools for that. Salesforce has an analytics platform called Einstein, as well as, I'm not sure if you know, but Salesforce actually acquired Tableau about a year ago. And so that is also a Salesforce analytics product. They have a community platform. They have industry solutions. So if you think about nonprofits, financial institutions, healthcare, Salesforce actually has specific industry solutions. So it's a really wide-ranging product base there. And so it's amazing just the different things that you can do with the Salesforce platform. And another little piece of information, 97 of the top Fortune 100 companies are actually Salesforce customers. So the brands you know are actually powered by Salesforce. Here locally in Orlando, you have Disney, Disney Vacations, Marriott Vacation Club, the Orlando Magic, the Orlando City.
Advent Health.
Yeah, Advent,
I mean,
Power DMS.
it's just,
God, there's so many companies. Deloitte. Probably most of the big companies here probably use Salesforce. But when we're training you for a Salesforce position, again, this is not, the Salesforce administrator role is not just something that you look into if you want to work at Salesforce, the company. Their ecosystem is actually a lot broader, which I'll touch on later. So when you talk about Salesforce and what are the opportunities with Salesforce, right? So if you look at the slide here, this touches on some of the average salaries. And, you know, getting that first position may take a little bit of work, but once you're able to obtain that first position, you're able to get some experience, you get into that first role, the salary range and the career paths that you can take, it's a pretty decent salary. So the average salary for a Salesforce administrator is $95,000. So I'm not saying your very first position you'll be making $95,000, but I can confidently say your second, third position, you'll be comfortably there. Or let's say, you know, maybe your second or third year, depending on what industry you go into or what industry you're in or what type of company you work for. And so on average, jobs with Salesforce skills pay more than $70,000. And two of the top 10 best jobs in tech are actually Salesforce specific jobs. So this just gives you a picture of just the different types of roles. So there's the Salesforce administrator, which is a little less developer based. Then there's an actual developer role. And then you have a technical architect was an overarching role that again is more architecture based. You have a BA role, Salesforce specific BA roles, marketing roles, and then of course your general sales roles. So we'll come back to that in a second. Another piece of information really quickly is just wanting to go over the Salesforce Economy. So it is projected by 2022 that 3.3 million new jobs will be created in the Salesforce Economy. So that's a ton of jobs. So when you think about just the number, even if you look today, if you go on LinkedIn right now, or you go on Indeed and you type in Salesforce, I mean, you have a ton of positions come back. And those positions are in high demand because there's just not enough skilled people in the Salesforce ecosystem. And so being able to get the experience, get the certifications, will really put you in a good position to land a job in the ecosystem. And so this course will help you prepare for a position in one of these areas in the Salesforce ecosystem. So one, you have Salesforce customers. So that's the other slide I showed you, where there's the Starbucks, the Tiffany's, the Amazons, Targets. There are a ton of companies that are customers of Salesforce. So they are using Salesforce to run some part of their business. And then you have consulting partners. So those are the Deloittes, the PwCs, the Accentures. And then you have smaller, medium-sized consulting companies too. And so there are a number of companies, consulting companies that are Salesforce specific, like maybe companies that you've never heard of because maybe they only do Salesforce consulting projects. And so you'll have a customer like a Starbucks that may pay one of these consulting companies to come in and actually do the implementation work to set up Salesforce for the customer. So when a customer purchases Salesforce licenses, unless they're AAA, who's a huge Salesforce customer, Salesforce actually does not set up Salesforce for that customer. They actually recommend that customer work with a consulting partner to get Salesforce configured for them. And so that's why there's such a large ecosystem of Salesforce consulting partners. Then you have App Exchange partners. So Salesforce has an app store. And so if you think about the Apple App Store, Salesforce actually sold them that name. Salesforce actually had the first app store, and they sold that name to Apple, and their app store is called the App Exchange. So there are companies that build apps on the Salesforce platform or apps to connect to the Salesforce platform. So you think about Adobe Sign. If a sales rep needs to send out a contract where they can purchase and install the Adobe Sign app, and it works with Salesforce to merge in data from Salesforce, send the contract out for signature, and then that information comes back into Salesforce. MailChimp integrates with Salesforce to be able to send out marketing campaigns. So there's a whole app store of lots of different types of apps to connect to Salesforce. Nancy, do you have any apps that you really like to use? I have a lot of apps that I use.
Well, I mentioned Conga, which we're going to get hands on, right? And that's an app that helps people who have Salesforce create documents, contracts, when they're conducting business like a B2B customer. They may use a system called a third-party app called Conga to do that piece of the functionality. Because the Salesforce platform is so flexible and you're able to interact with it, there's a lot of additional functionality that you can add to Salesforce to enhance the basic platform of Salesforce. So it's very flexible.
And then the third route you have is the independent consultant route. So again, you can work for a customer and their internal Salesforce, within their internal Salesforce department. You can work as a consultant for a consulting company. You could be part of a team, of an App Exchange partner team, or you can be an independent consultant. And so where you can go out and you can help customers, maybe smaller, medium-sized customers, actually implement Salesforce, maybe work on a smaller project for them. And so there's lots of opportunities and lots of companies that actually specifically work on helping individuals get Salesforce contracts. And so those could be 6 months, 12-month independent projects. So that is also another route that you can take with this skill. I touched on this a little bit, but these are some of the paths that you can take beyond Salesforce Administrator. So if you are really into coding, there's a Salesforce developer role. I think the next level up from developer would be more of like an architect. So that's just a more senior role to the developer. You have the BA role that we talked about. There's the marketing role, sales career, service career. So some of these have specific Salesforce certification paths. So there are 20 plus different Salesforce certifications. Again, the course that we are teaching is not to prepare you for the certification. And I'll tell you why in a few. But this is more to get you familiar and prepared for a Salesforce administrator role versus just passing the certification, because the certification does not necessarily prepare you for the actual role. So we'll talk about that in a second. I hope you can see this, but a lot of times people don't know what it means to be a Salesforce administrator and if this would be a good career path for you. And so a Salesforce administrator, in my words, is the person that is in between the business and maybe the super techie people. So let's say you like to help solve problems, you like to interface with your business counterparts, and you like to help them figure out how to get the best use out of an application. The Salesforce administrator is like that middle person that helps business to achieve what they need to be able to do their role successfully. Does things like making sure they understand the data that's in Salesforce, they have the right fields, that you help them build reports and dashboards. You help to draw out business processes and actually automate those business processes inside of Salesforce. And so, although in this role you are configuring the system, you don't actually have to write any code. And so it's more clicks instead of code in this role. And it's really a lot more business focused. You're really working with the business to understand what they need. And so what I like about this role is that you can really be instrumental to the business. You're helping them solve their problems. You're helping them, a lot of business people don't want to talk to technical people because they don't understand what they're saying. And so you get to be the person that says, let me help you understand what you need and what the system can do for you. And I like that about this role. Nancy, what do you like about the admin role? What kind of made you take that transition?
Well, I think one exciting thing about Salesforce is there's ongoing innovation within the platform. There are three major releases a year. So you're constantly learning and they're constantly improving the technology and making it better for the customers. That's why it's the #1 CRM platform in the world. So I think if you're someone that likes to continue to challenge yourself and continue learning, then you'll never get bored within a Salesforce career.
I agree. So let's talk about the kind of general soft skills and then some of the technical skills that are needed for this role. So one very important thing is communication, because as I just described, you're the middle person between the business and the super technical team. And so communication skills are very important. Communication skills are important in tech overall. It's not something that's necessarily focused on or given a lot of attention to in different programs, but it's really important that you have good communication skills so that you can do your best to understand what the business is saying to you, and help them and translate that and work well with them so that they trust you and they want to work with you. Which leads into the stakeholder engagement. And so understanding how to work with stakeholders at different levels. So you could work with end users, people that are using the Salesforce system in this role. You can work with VPs and directors that are wanting to understand and get data out of the system. And so this role is really transitional across the organization. You can work with people at so many different levels depending on the organization. Business analysis is another piece of this role. So even though there is a BA role um, specific in some Salesforce organizations, business analysis is part of this role because you have to be able to listen to what someone is asking you and then do some analysis around it, make sure you're asking the right questions uh, and doing the right level of documentation so that you know what to build. Um, Then there is the end user enablement. And so, oh, I'm sorry, you have project management. So as you have all these requests coming in, if you're the one that has to do them, then there's a level of project management that you'll get a chance to do when you are maybe given estimates to say, this is this is how long it's going to take to do this piece, or you know, maybe you have a bigger project and you need to be able to give an estimate and give, a timeline. And so there's a bit of project management in this role. And then you have end user enablement. And so you are able to actually work with end users and help to train them, help to make them more productive in their role. So this is definitely not a hands-off role. This is the tech role where you don't necessarily want to be all the way behind the monitor all the time, that you do actually want to interface with business, with business and stakeholders and end users. Then you have the technical skills. So in this role, they want to technical recruiters will want to make sure that you understand the Salesforce platform, that you understand how to document business processes, or that you're familiar with business processes, that you understand data management, process automation, that you know how to do formulas and understand validations, which is a Salesforce specific thing, validation rules, and that you understand a level of the system configuration. And so we'll cover all those areas in our course. This slide was just to kind of give you a sneak peek into what a Salesforce administrator does day to day. I kind of touched on some of this. So, sales managers may ask you to build a report, or a colleague may ask you to give feedback or to optimize some piece of Salesforce for someone. And then the last one, let's talk about, again, just reports, dashboards, building something out for an executive. So there's, like I said, a number of different levels of people that you can interface with, and just a lot of different requests that you can receive in this role. So part of, and again, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments, because I feel like this is a lot of information. So part of this course will be utilizing Trailhead. So Trailhead is a free learning platform that Salesforce created and launched. And there are a number of amazing learning modules that are available on the Trailhead platform. Trailhead also, by completing these modules, you earn badges. And so it gives you like a digital resume. And so when you sign up for Trailhead, you get a unique link that you can actually use on your LinkedIn profile to display what you're learning in Salesforce. And actually you can give that to recruiters and show, there's some recruiters and companies that are very familiar with Trailhead and will use that as proof of your knowledge of Salesforce when you're able to show them the different badges and skills that you've learned in that platform. And through Trailhead, you get hands-on learning. So this is not just quizzes, this is not just watching videos. Trailhead actually takes you through learning how to actually configure different areas of Salesforce. And then that tool actually checks the configuration for you to make sure that, so that you actually did the configuration right. And so in addition to videos and quizzes, you actually get some hands-on experience. Anything you want to add to any of that, Nancy?
Oh, I was just going to say about Trailhead is phenomenal. I mean, what really impressed me about Salesforce 2 years ago was, I mean, I had a prior IT background, and I started a photography business and took a break from that, and then got back in 2 years ago. But I had known of any kind of software company that would actually give you a developer version that has their platform that you can use for free. And together with that, something like Trailhead that would help guide you through the learning experience. And so if you really want to get in there and learn it, you really can. And what this cohort is going to do is to take you a step beyond that, because of with Tiffany's expertise and knowledge, it's really going to, help the participants be comfortable with their knowledge and understanding of Salesforce.
So I see a question. It says, do you know if there are still discounts for certifications if you achieve the Ranger achievement? So I don't believe so. However, Trailhead does a number of different promotions where if you are ready to take the certification, you can join like a webinar and they'll give you a code for $100 off. Right now, there is a Trailhead scholarship program that they are offering where you can apply. And if you're chosen, they actually give you a voucher and do a certification course with you. So there's a number of ways to get discounts on certifications. Black Orlando Tech is actually exploring sponsoring some people for different certifications. That is Salesforce and outside of Salesforce. So we are also going to support individuals on their journey. And then I always share, if you follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn, I always share any of the programs. If you sign up for the Trailhead like newsletter, or I don't know how that works, but follow Salesforce people and follow me, and I always share that information. But you can always get a discount. They call them certification days. So there's lots of ways to get discounts for certifications for sure. Any other questions in regards to certifications? Okay. Well, let's talk about the course. So, congratulations, Brian. You just hit your expeditioner. Wait, is that how you say it? Expeditioner? That sounds right. If my husband was here, he would laugh at me. Badge. Yeah, there's a lot of cool badges, and I like Trailhead. I think it's fun. I'm a ranger. I'm almost a double ranger. I just haven't done any badges lately. I do not have all 600 badges. I know people that have all the badges. There's actually more than 600 now. It's like 800 and something. And I do know a few people that actually have all the badges. It's very doable, apparently. So as far as the cohorts, so on the Salesforce technical side, what we're going to cover is we're going to make sure we do just a general CRM overview, make sure everybody's on the same page. I do have a trail mix that I recommend that you do before this cohort. I expect you to be familiar with Salesforce when you join this cohort. I'm definitely not starting from scratch. And so I would like for you to have some experience that you've been on Trailhead, you've gone through some trails. The trails that I recommend are more the intro to some of the different clouds. So intro to Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, those types of things. So I have a trail mix that I will share with you all that I recommend you go through. And I also post it in my in the Eventbrite link where you sign up for the actual course. The next thing that we will go over in that class will be sales processes and strategies, service and support functions, business process automation, data management and design. So how you do all of this inside of the Salesforce platform. building reports and dashboards. And all of this is going to be explored through an 8-week capstone project. And so you're actually going to take 8 weeks. I'm going to give you a use case, and you are going to build out in your own Salesforce org. You're going to customize it according to the use case that I give you. And so every week you're going to customize your Salesforce org more and more. This is going to help you practice hands-on customizations that are needed in the org. It's going to help you to get comfortable with and practice Salesforce consulting. We will be using Lightning, so we are only doing customization in Lightning, although there may be some areas that you do have to cut back over to Classic. And if I don't know if I touch on any of those, but as in general, as part of what I do during the training, I always try to give you best practices. So this is 12 years of experience that I'm going to infuse into you over 8 weeks. And so we will be using only Lightning. We are going to utilize Agile methodology when we go through this project. So that is going to mean using either Jira or Trello to create your user stories and move them through sprints, assign them to sprints, move them through sprints, because that is pretty widely used now across organizations. And so you do need to have some exposure to that. You're going to learn how to do client discovery. And so that's where those VA skills come in. So we will be practicing that piece where Nancy and I will be acting as stakeholders, and you will need to do a pseudo discovery session with us to get the information that you need to build out and customize the Salesforce org and create the solution for us. And then at the end, there will be a project presentation. And actually, my goal is to bring in some Salesforce partners to actually see you do this presentation. And so it won't just be for Nancy and I. That wouldn't be fun. I will probably bring in an actual Salesforce partner company to help judge and give you feedback on your presentations and your designs and what you've built inside of Salesforce. So will we work with real users? And so Nancy and I will be playing the role of real users. So we're going to be stakeholders certain days, we'll be users certain days. And so we will certainly give you all the questions that we get from users just to give you that experience. And so you will get that over the 8 weeks. And so what makes this really important is that after you get your certification, so whether you have your certification or not, so if you have your certification and you take this course, or you don't have your certification and you get that after this course, what this will give you is the experience of working through an entire implementation project, so that when you go into interviews and they ask you about, what do you do if someone is requesting a customization that's not best practice? How would you respond to that? Or if you get in an interview and they're asking you questions about configuration, or how would you do something, or how do you manage your projects, you've actually done that. And so you're actually going to do the things that admins do, so that you can have a project to refer to in your interviews, so that you can have something to demo if that's requested of you. When you interview with consulting companies, sometimes they ask you to do like a case study. And so this is actually practice for that as well. Will you be using the Sales Cloud or Service Cloud, or a mix of both? We're going to use both. So you will have to customize Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, both in this. I see Erica. Erica said it was hard to scrum with imaginary friends. That is true. It's hard to work on asking questions and writing user stories without without someone to ask them to. I would agree. And so I've been actually working on this with Nancy. when I train individuals, I like to give them projects to work on. And so, Nancy, with what we've been doing so far, how do you think this has helped you, and do you feel more confident now as you're going into, interviewing and looking for roles?
Oh man, it's really amazing because Trailhead is one thing and all of that, but you're not really interacting with someone and like going through, the real process that you would go to in the real world. So, one of the first projects I did with Tiffany was when Wells Built Museum was coming online with Salesforce, and she put together a team of people who wanted to volunteer with that, and we brought them upline. Each of us had different responsibilities with regard to, configuring their Salesforce instance and dealing with the client, and stuff like that. And it just builds your confidence, because, it's one thing to know it, and do it within, like I said, Trailhead and stuff like that, but to actually work with someone and go through that, it kind of gives you that muscle memory and gives you your confidence. And so through each of these different projects that I've done, it's actually boosted my confidence level, to the point that I'm comfortable interviewing with people and can really, talk about what I really know in terms of being a Salesforce administrator. So it's valuable. I don't know of any other now, because I've been doing, learning and putting myself through this for 2 years. And not to say that anybody has to go through 2 years. I just kind of took my time with it. But I don't know of any other program where you get to have this type of real world type interaction. So, I mean, it's really valuable.
So Nancy and I can talk about any topic that you have a question on. So do you have a general Salesforce question, certification question, questions about the cohorts, question about other cohorts? We're happy to answer questions. So I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for about 12 years, and I have worked with Farrell Technologies in Lake Mary. They are a 3D imaging. They build and they manufacture and sell 3D imaging equipment. They use Salesforce to run their entire business. I've worked with Red Hat. They use Salesforce for the project I was working on was their partner program where they had third-party resellers that sell their software. So I've worked there. I've worked with SunTrust Bank. I've done a number of independent consulting projects for different companies. What else have I done? I don't know. So there are a lot of different companies that use it. And so the reason I've stuck with it all this time is that one, it pays very well. But two, like I've been working from home, I think for like 7 years. So when this pandemic hit, I'm a pro at this. I've been working from home for a long time. And I like that with Salesforce, I have had the flexibility of not only working remotely, but working with lots of different types of companies and different roles. And so once you get into Salesforce, you can absolutely customize your career path, and work with, you may decide, I really like the financial services cloud, and you want to take that path, or you may decide, I really like analytics, and you focus and go down the analytics path. So once you get started, you have lots of different options, and that's what I really like about this role. Salesforce has started getting into the robotic process automation space. Have you used those features much at all? So no, I have not gotten into the robotic process automation space. So I do know that manufacturing cloud is going to be that's the new cloud that's coming. So they announced it at Dreamforce, and they are most definitely going to get into the manufacturing space, and that maybe is probably going to come into place there. I know that Salesforce already has like an IoT platform, and so I'm sure that that has some place in there too. And so I could see that really being one of the next big areas, especially with manufacturing cloud being brand new. And so definitely, if you have a manufacturing background or you like the robotic process automation space, that might be a good path. But I have not used that. Erica is funny. Erica, I may move to Wednesday because my bot meetings are actually on Tuesdays, but I won't overlap with Josh on Sundays, just for you. Any other questions, anyone? This is like the quietest crowd ever. um, I'm glad Wednesdays work for you, Erica. You're so funny. What was I going to say? So Nancy, how have you been, have you been job hunting yet?
Yes, I have. Well, just last week, Salesforce had Trailhead DX, and it was a virtual event this year because of everything. And they had a virtual career fair, and then they had the actual virtual Trailhead DX, and they had a lot of presentations and seminars to talk about new functionality and such. But the virtual career fair, they had, I almost think, over 40 um, prospective employers were looking for people with Salesforce experience, different variations of experience and levels. And so that was really phenomenal. We got a chance to, you did your research on the particular employer beforehand, and then the day of, then you could schedule time to speak with them and chat with them and express interest and ask questions. And if so, it was really cool. And I had a couple of really good potential leads. And like I said, I'm just starting to feel more and more comfortable with getting out there. And, so really excited about what's around the pike.
So a couple questions came in. One is, what is the best site other than Trailheads to pass the certifications? So there are a number of different sites and materials that you can utilize. Trailhead is definitely the best, utilizing Trailhead and the exam outline. And then you have there's courses on Udemy, there's Focus on Force, which I really like for the practice exams. There are a number of just different like Quizlets and different Salesforce study packs out there. And there are a number of different Salesforce blogs. So a lot of the different Salesforce MVPs and different Salesforce professionals actually write blogs that have a lot of different certification tips on there. So if you go to my website, hbcforce.org, there's a blog post on there that I outline just a few different blogs and resources. But there's a lot of different material out there. I still recommend Trailhead and the help articles.
Right. And I was just going to add, at the end of each Trailhead, there's usually a link to the Salesforce documentation. I mean, it's a lot of the stuff is very well documented. It just lets you, dig deeper into the weeds on some of the respective topics. So, I mean, those are some of the best sources right there.
Mike Willer's course is cool. It's self-paced, so it depends on how you learn. If you are okay with going through the videos and you can learn that way. Some people don't. So, but I've heard lots of good things about Mike Willer's course. Focus on Force is, I like those quizzes. I use those with another group. So I do like those for practice, and it's only $25 if you just do the practice exams. So I think those are fine. And then Salesforce has a YouTube channel too, so there's lots of videos on there. And then you have Trailhead Live. So if you go on Trailhead, look for Trailhead Live, and there's a lot of videos on there that are really good to help back up what you're learning. Tanika Renee, I have minimal technical experience, but I'm looking to pivot into tech. How often do you have a cohorts? It seems like you need a crash course. No, actually, so the trail mix that I put in there that I recommended. It's in the chat. It's you don't have to be technical at all. So if you are comfortable on the internet and on Facebook or submitting a web application, you could totally do Salesforce administration. It's not that technical. Like if you understand how to use an Excel document, um, you're good. Like if you can understand Excel and how Excel works, you'll be fine. It's not that technical. It's more about understanding there's different pieces of it that a technical background helps you to understand the concepts better. But if you can understand how databases work, how tables work, um, then you'll be fine,
Right.
honestly.
And really your desire to learn, really. I mean, if you want to learn Salesforce, you definitely can, because there's so many different resources out there. You know, maybe your learning style is one way versus another. There's something out there to help you get over that hurdle. And there's people that was another thing that really impressed me with Salesforce is they have what's called the Ohana, right? And that's like the family. People in Salesforce want to see you succeed, and they're willing to help you succeed. So that's the really exciting thing about it.
Mm-hmm. Um, so yeah, so you definitely have time. You could get through that trail mix by August 1st. You definitely have time to do it. Just do a module or two every day. I mean, you don't have to absolutely get through every module, but I would at least like for you to get through at least the first, as much as you can, of the modules so that you can get familiar with Trailhead, with the trails, and Salesforce in general. So I definitely recommend that. Um, the trail mix, yeah, the trail mix is there. So definitely don't feel bad if you're not super technical. Like you don't have to be for this role at all. There are lots of stories of people that have transitioned into tech utilizing Salesforce and Trailhead from different backgrounds. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is not a joke. There are people that were circus performers that transitioned to careers with Salesforce. Um, and they're flourishing. They're utilizing their creative side and the technical side, and they found the path. So I'm telling you, there are people from lots of different backgrounds that have transitioned into Salesforce because of the opportunities. There's a number of different affinity groups and um, different just groups of trailblazers. So you'll definitely find your path and fit in. So if you want to take that leap, don't worry about your background at all. We'll just teach you how to use that to your advantage to transition successfully to get your first job. Okay, people, 2 minutes. Any other questions? Okay. It was nice chatting with all of you. If you do end up thinking of another question, you can find Nancy and I on Twitter. You can comment on this video after the fact. You could go to the Black Orlando Tech Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere, and ask a question. You can email us. And if you feel like this information was helpful, please share it. And with other people, share it with your network, let them know about our cohorts. Yes, we will do resume reviews. That's very important. We'll do resume reviews. We'll do, lots of career prep. So it's definitely included. So please share. Please ask us any questions. And we're excited to potentially work with you in this cohort for 8 weeks. And thank you all for joining today.
Yeah. Bye.